Ooh, what's happening, man? Um, I don't really have a whole bunch to talk about. I'm watching this Monarch show on Apple TV, right? And a scene just happened, and it made me think like like 4 or 5 different things at one time. So this won't spoil shit. Um, they're looking for some people, and somehow or another, the Monarch show is about Godzilla, right? And I don't know. I didn't used to watch Godzilla because it looked boring to me. But the more recent iterations of the show, like in the movies and shit, are good as fuck. Mostly because they're putting a bunch of like, you know, breadcrumbs and you know, real shit in there. That's why I keep watching. So they're looking for these people, and one of the dudes that works for Monarch is like trying to figure out a way to track them. And I'm not gonna break down the entire way he does it, but basically he uses Godzilla's movements, meaning like how they track him, which is gamma rays, gamma radiation, and they track the people they're looking for by following Godzilla's, hits, like his movements. And so, while he's explaining that to the like unscientific minded person, he says something about how usually gamma radiation comes from space, right? But he mentions that scientists, and this is in, you know, this universe, that universe, scientists discovered that gamma radiation was coming from Earth, like from below, not from above. The moment he said that, it made me think of a couple of things that that I have happened upon recently in my studies, in my research. One, I forgot what year it was, but it was not recent. This was years ago. Like 2013, maybe, if I had to guess. I can't remember what they said. In Antarctica, it was discovered that neutrinos, gamma, I believe, neutrinos, were shooting up from Earth, from a hole in the Earth. At the time, this was like classified. I think it's been not declassified, or I don't even know if it was classified, but it wasn't being talked about, and the people that were involved were told not to talk about it. So I don't think they really had to classify it. They just threatened the fuck out of the niggas that were involved with it. So that's one. Neutrinos, cosmic neutrinos. If I'm not mistaken, specifically gamma radiation coming from below, not from above. I keep trying to say that my studies are leading me to believe that space, the space that we're told about, regularly, is more accurately described as below, not above. Oceans, inner Earth, hollow Earth, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Everything gets so politicized and polarized so that we can't have discourse about it. As soon as a nigga starts talking about something that you've heard about, most people's brains go to whatever position those who were talking about it were on. So by that I mean, like, if you heard something about hollow Earth or inner Earth or flat Earth from somebody who was taking the position of that's nonsensical, then subconsciously, unless you already kind of believe in shit like that, subconsciously you take the same position. So the next time you hear somebody speak about it, you're like, oh, this nigga's talking about fucking inner Earth. That's not helpful. Just to put that out, that's not helpful, even just for yourself. If that's the way that you attack life, or this puzzle that is the simulation, this puzzle that is, so-called existence, so-called life, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're closing yourself off to possible realities, possible truths, because you're letting somebody else dictate what seems believable or possible to you. Anyway, so that's one. Neutrinos, possibly gamma radiation neutrinos coming from below, cosmic, with a connection to space. And again, this is in Antarctica, and if you study at all or pay attention to truth-based shit, like truth or shit at all, Antarctica is a hotbed. It's a real, smorgasbord of truth. You know what I'm saying? I don't like saying rabbit hole and all that shit, but there's a lot to it. So, dig into Antarctica, man. There's a lot of shit to that. Sky ice, vortexes, fucking underground caverns, self-heated, naturally heated underground caverns, Admiral Byrd, frozen microorganisms from thousands of years ago. I don't believe in that much time being passed. I think it was pretty recent, to be honest with you. But yeah, the correct version of the map, like Italian PNC on YouTube, they have the Nas Confunding, what's it called? It's basically a flat Earth map. Look up Italian PNC. By now, you should be able to find a pretty decent flat realm map without doing too much digging. Italian PNC's map has made it out there, or Nas Confunding's map has gained a lot of notoriety, because it's definitely believable, and it's very concise and precise. So number two, do y'all remember, I want to say not even a couple weeks ago, maybe like a week ago, I don't know what today's date is. What's the date? What's the date? Nigga, tell me what the date is. 29th, December 29th, 2023. So maybe like a week ago, there was a story about how there was a specific particle that fell to Earth. A cosmic particle, very, very powerful, realm changing, supposedly. You gotta pay attention, but take this shit with a grain of salt. Regardless to that, though, this is what I meant in one of my earlier videos when I say if I hear something, I take it with a grain of salt, but I look for more evidence of it. And by evidence, sometimes you gotta take the things that seem like they might be fiction. To me, fiction is not real. You got soft disclosure, you got misinformation, and then you've got, nonsense. Like comedy movies are more like social engineering. They have nothing to do with these types of studies, so that doesn't apply. But if you've seen the original Men in Black, there's a scene where he talks about how they need to find either a person, or they need to find a case, or they're on a case and they have to find a lead. So Kay takes him to a newsstand and they pick up all the funny papers. Like, in the funny papers back in the day, it was like, I say back in the day like I'm fucking old and shit. Nobody was reading that shit when I was a kid, but like, what's National Enquirer? Is that one of them? All those magazines that were basically tabloids. So we all kind of were told and thought that the tabloids were just nonsense, but a lot of that shit probably was true. Look at celebrities now, all the stories that you see about celebrities now, and tell me that when you look back at tabloids that all those stories were so far-fetched. Are they? Are they? So yeah, basically why I bring that up is like, so the story about the particle supposedly falling from above, basically to me that story just meant that a cosmic particle, a heavily charged particle, was introduced to the realm. Doesn't matter where it came from, because I think it's very likely that it came from below, possibly shot up, maybe even bounced off the firmament, came back down, who the fuck knows. But regardless, main point being heavily charged. I think it said female particle. I don't remember. I'd have to look that up again. I'm doing this by I literally just paused this shit as it happened, so I'm not very caught up on some of the things that I'm bringing up. But that story is a part of it. So the reason I bring all those things up is because if you remember the first part of what I was saying, it was talking about how Godzilla, the signature that they use to follow and track Godzilla is gamma radiation, right? Gamma radiation is a cosmic radiation. So that would lead many people to consider cosmic shit like space, quote unquote space shit from above. Again, I really am gravitating more towards I don't like that colloquialism anymore. Because I fuck with density, not gravity. Anyway, I'm gravitating more toward, the concept of space and a lot of its properties being below, not above. Obviously, I'm not talking about like stars and shit like that. Still not sure about those. A lot of people that are on the same like wavelength as me say that they are fixed within the dome system, which I gotta say makes a lot of sense. When you get a high-powered camera or telescope and you look at these celestial bodies like Venus, Jupiter, any of these things, any of these stars or heavenly bodies, they look like water. They look like they're in water or they are water. Think of the fractals of light in pool water when it's a nice summer day out. Those squiggly lines and shit like that the water does. That's what planets look like. Go to my posts. I just put one up that's from somebody else's, from Flat Earth 2018, which is a good YouTube channel. Good Instagram too. But I also have a couple of my own. I think I did Venus and Jupiter. I don't remember which ones I put up, but point being, they look like water. And then also you have the biblical descriptions, which is really sketchy if you think about it. For them to say a star looks like a wheel within a wheel, and then you today get a telescope or a high-powered camera and you look and it looks like a circle with a circle inside, that's a wheel within a wheel. How the fuck did they know that? How the fuck did they know that, bro? That's a whole other conversation. But then some of them look like a wheel with an X in the middle. All of the descriptions that we've been given as what stars look like is what they can look like. They look like all that shit. They look like water, which, water's above. They look like a wheel within a wheel, excuse me. An X. Some of them look like a cross, cross. It's very strange. So I'm not talking about that shit. I'm talking about the properties of space, and not even the properties of space, more like the things that are said to come from space or out of space, like aliens or certain, you know, like I just said, neutrinos, certain energies, certain radiation. What if we're being misled on that shit the same way we're being misled and lied to on all of this other shit that we're aware of? Right? We don't know shit about Antarctica. We don't know shit about this giant hole that apparently spits shit out of it. There's a video of like a vortex and it's surrounded by ice, but there's like fire inside of it. And it looks like a smelting pit, or like a smoldering tornado with fire like in the middle of it. I kept wondering to myself if that shit was real. I think Flat Earth 2018 has clips on it, or somebody does, but it was being positioned as, you know, the holes in the realm, meaning like if one were to subscribe to the heliocentric model, there's a theory within more open-minded individuals that believe in the heliocentric model that there are openings, you know, at the top and bottom of this, you know, in their case, planet, and others as well. And there are pictures, I believe, or video of other instances too, like maybe Saturn, Jupiter, I don't know about Mars, but basically saying that they're all built like that. And there's a whole other, you know, concept of how cosmology works, and there's like a design to it, like they're not natural formations, like cosmic spaceships or cosmic vessels or something to that effect, which I'm not fully against. That makes sense. Basically, I just noticed this kind of about myself, like, all I'm sure of is that I've been lied to my whole life, and that you've been lied to your whole life. So any theory or concept that opposes the mainstream pushed and, you know, taught theory, if it doesn't seem stupid, or if I'm not aware of anything that can disprove it, I'm not against it. We don't know shit. So I have the things that resonate with me and make the most sense. And for me, a flat plane that is like layered stacks, realms, makes more sense to me. But I'm not completely closed off to the heliocentric with openings and vastly different cosmology, meaning like geography, I guess I should say. Like, the map is wrong, the world map is wrong. That's known for sure. That's definitely, without all that other shit, that's definitely the truth. The map is definitely off, and it's intentional. I mean, they tell you on some maps, like, this is actually bigger than this, like, Africa can fit all these countries inside of it. South America is actually way bigger than, you know, Alaska, and so on and so on. So, with all that in mind, gamma rays, gamma radiation, right? If that story of the neutrinos being released from below, if there's any weight to that, if there's any sand to that, and according to this heavily laced soft disclosure show, Monarch, there are certain beings, large beings called Titans in these movies and TV shows, and they give off these radiation signatures. Is that potentially, you know, like a soft disclosure that there are, I won't even say giant things, but things that we're very, very unfamiliar with, that, you know, their biology would make no sense to us, speaking in terms of like physics and biology, meaning potentially some shit that gives off radiation, at least, if not straight gamma radiation. And to add to that, I've been hearing within what I've been listening to lately in my studies, like in my research and shit, there's a synchronicity that keeps happening where they talk about how our DNA, our genetics, are sought after because of how complex and diverse they are, meaning a whole bunch of different species contributed to the building blocks of our DNA. And I still, I'm kind of like on the theory of there are different species here, but at the same time, I also said and still believe that pigment doesn't have as much to do with that as we've been led to believe, right? Because we're so well indoctrinated, or we have been tribalized. That's a better way to say it. We've been tribalized so much that we have selective vision, right? There are a lot of, and I'm gonna go at multiple groups. I'm gonna start with my own first. There's a lot of black supremacy, a lot of aboriginal and indigenous supremacy going around in our circles, understandably, because we've been treated terribly. And I say that even with the knowledge that a lot of the shit that was said to have happened didn't happen. I'm saying that with that knowledge. I'm not excluding that. And what I mean by that is, even if them things didn't happen, why did you lie to us about it? You lied about it and you used it to subjugate, terrorize, manipulate, and torture, kidnap, beat down, both figuratively and physically, a group of people. You confused them. You took away their history, their artifacts, their land, their sense of being, like where they're from, what they come from, what they are, who they are. These aren't mysteries. They know these things. They have files on us, nigga. Like, they know these things. You don't, because you're not intended to know these things. You're not supposed to know these things. When one of us is conceived and planned for birth, they start taking blood and doing all kinds of shit. And they say it's to check up on you, make sure that you're straight, but that's not the majority of why that is. It's to see who you are before you're born. It's to see who you are before you're born. And I'm not going to act like I'm the first one to say that, but after I heard that, it sounded crazy to me. But then I went and checked on that shit, and that's real. It's to see who you are before you're born, and to determine what they will try to impose on your existence while you are in this experience. And I'll be the first to admit, especially in terms of my working theory and my research into my theory and shit, a lot of the time this shit gets to be so convoluted and complex that it becomes overwhelming trying to keep up with all the moving pieces of it. Because there are some parts of, there are some theories that don't line up as well with my overall theory, but I don't care about that. I'm more so than building and crafting my theory, I'm about truth. I want to know the truth. That's the whole reason I'm doing that shit to begin with. So if I get led to some shit that doesn't really make sense for the shit over here, I isolate that shit. It's not going, I'm not going to throw it away just because it doesn't go with what I'm trying to make sense of. And so, like I said, to start off with my own group, there's a sense of superiority because, admittedly, we have good genetics. We have good genetics. That's not to be disputed. There's sayings about it. Them sayings don't just come from nowhere. Black don't crack. We age slowly and shit like that. Those things are true. The rhythm that we have, all kinds of shit, But those things and our trauma don't mean that other species don't have things that they can be proud of and things that they can contribute to what we're trying to do. If we could actually get together, if we could get together just as us, meaning copper-skinned aboriginals and indigenous, then maybe those that aren't about supremacy in their groups would want to fucking, lock in with us. And then so on and so on and so on. We don't need their whole groups, just like we don't need our whole group. Because it's the same thing with us as it is with them. Some of them niggas are dead already, bruh. Dead, walking dead. Some of them niggas, we're not special in that way. We are special, but we're all special in ways. And, I don't say anything in absolutes unless I say absolutely. And this isn't an absolute. Like, there's always complexities to it because this experience is such a well-programmed experience. And I don't know if I want to go with the popular, like, saying that the Matrix is glitching or that things are starting to fall apart or whatever, but something is happening, and a lot of it is very noticeable, and it leads me to have a sense of urgency. And so that's why, rather than being super diplomatic, especially with my own, because like I said, I'm starting to work on this kind of side theory that's a part of my theory. Everything that I talk about is a part of my overall theory. But that supremacy shit is not helpful to us. It is blinding us to a lot of shit, and it's isolating us just like we were isolated before. This is just another tactic to get us to isolate ourselves so that we're that much easier to dupe and subjugate and, pull the wool over our eyes and have, fucking Judas and the Black Messiah niggas come in and start preaching their old bullshit, just like, don't get mad, but just like Martin did. Did lots of positive things, but also this nigga was preaching bullshit. That's proven, bro. And then when he was ready to, like, you know what, I'm done doing this, I'm for my species, let me try to fix this shit, they killed his ass. That's what that is. And I'm very confident that if that nigga reincarnated right now, or just incarnated as himself, whatever, he would potentially say that shit. Like, yeah, they had me telling y'all bullshit. They had me teaching y'all bullshit. And more than likely, the nigga was a Mason. And that's another aspect of that. Them societies, there's a lot of, like, apologist behavior right now, trying to, like, get people to think that they're not all bad and all this old bullshit. And I know that's true. But the one thing I'll say about that is, sure, not everyone in any organization or group is bad or good. But if you see a significant number or amount of people doing bad shit in your organization or group, nigga, leave. Why the fuck are you staying in that group if you can see a lot of bullshit happening? That's weird. It's weird to do that. And I mean, I can't really accept any excuse. Just heard one today, like, oh, well, you can't, I don't accept them to be, or I don't see them as a Mason or as a Rosicrucian or whatever. Don't matter what you see them as, it's what they are presented as, and their works. Just like you said, their works. So, that fucking fraternal order shit, man, that's weirdo shit. Anyway, so the supremacy shit for what is presented as my species, our understanding at this moment of our species, which a lot of that seems to have to just do with this shit, this. Again, I'll say, and this is from the 3 videos I put up, I'm not going to call it a presentation, the documentation of my research progress on my theory. I said that, if anything, it should hold more interest, that more has to do with your blood type and your genetic makeup than your pigment. Your blood type and your genetic makeup seem to have more deciding factors within your physiology and your ancestry even. You don't give someone a kidney or a liver based on your skin color. You check that by your blood type. And I'm sure there's a few, other things that are also checked out just to be safe, but mostly the first thing you hear anybody talk about that's not a professional is blood type. So that supremacy shit is goofy, okay? And so to do one or two other examples, Asian people, right? And not even any specific. There is a common theme of supremacy within Asian groups, and it's not just toward non-Asian people, it's toward other groups of Asians. Like they're the first ones to tell you about it. This group don't like this group, don't like this group, don't like this group. And some people in the past have said, but y'all all come from the same shit, that's why y'all look alike. Disagree. I think that it's, that's a vast topic. If it's some realm shit or some space shit, which to me would be like either realms, like flat realms going down, or the Nas can fund them, the what is it, the Infinita? I can't remember the dude's name of this map, I keep forgetting it. Meaning enclosed systems with their own, solar body and lunar body, meaning sun and moon. Some don't even have a moon, some just have a sun. That map is really cool, bro. And his videos, Italian PNC, really cool shit. He puts a lot of work into it, and it makes a lot of sense, a lot of it. He uses resources that are sometimes known to you, and sometimes, like, he really has to dig them up, dredge them up. Anyway, they have a superiority complex on each other just as much as they do other people. It's not a secret also that many of them don't look too kindly on copper-skinned species, right? But in a reverse of that, many of them will, declare on their federal, like, tax shit that they are Caucasian, which some people would argue that they are. There's another nigga that I don't really talk about too much because, I got kind of like a soft spot for him, but he's got some hate in his heart and some trauma, real trauma. He calls himself like a timekeeper and a prince and all kinds of shit, which I'm trying not to shit on people's, like, knowing of self and shit, but at the same time, when you get to talking about I'm a dragon and all kinds of shit, you really got to say some shit to make me believe that. And some people have. There are some people that have really made me like, okay, I can't say for sure that you a dragon, but I damn sure can't say that you not a dragon. You know what I'm saying? But, for me, it's just discernment. There are some people that say shit like that, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And other people, I'm like, and I pay more attention. I had to unfollow this person, but he's got some real hate in his heart. Anyway, he posted a picture very recently, and it was weird that it came up in my shit, because I don't follow him on Instagram anymore. But it was pictures of different, I think, types of Caucasian people, and then one of the squares was an Asian person, and he said, they're literally the same. That was all he said. So some people consider them that. I think all that declaration on federal documents shit is dumb and a trap, and a way to, keep you enslaved by said corporation system. But that's not the point. There's a supremacy there too, and they have their own rich culture. They have their own myths and mysteries and shit like that, just like the rest of the species do. And their supremacy also does not serve them, because a lot of people like their culture and like their stories and their mysteries and shit. But then when it comes to, if you were to ask most other groups if you were to trust them in a situation where you needed to trust the people, they would say, no, nigga, I don't trust them. They don't fuck with nobody but themselves. Same thing with them old Canaanites. Canaanites got a heavy supremacy issue. And the thing that's weird about it is they're like the least secretive about it. They'll tell you to your face, I don't fuck with. They spit at people. The Canaanites spit at people in public, on camera. They don't give a fuck, nigga. Like, it's weird and messed up. But, if you've noticed the theme of me kind of talking about them Canaanites lately, like, I was about to try to, like, kind of apologize. Not apologize, like say I'm sorry, but look up apologist. Look up what an apologist is, because it's a different term. Not saying I'm sorry, but, like, defending. It's a defense. Earlier in my experience, I was thinking about going to a religious studies college to be an apologist, and it's really just religious debate. It's religious debate, and if you do it right, you can study a lot of different types of text. But thankfully, I didn't do that shit, because that would have been some indoctrination, weird shit, pressures, and probably secret societies and shit. Anyway, yeah, so, Asians got the supremacy problem. Canaanites got the supremacy problem. There are different types of Canaanites, and to be clear, I'm not saying that all of the people in any of these groups are fucked up or evil or any of that shit, I don't believe in absolutes when it comes to groups or people like that. That doesn't make any logical sense. So I shouldn't have to say that, but I will say that. I think there's a common theme of certain Canaanites being very welcoming, cool people, and other, like, more orthodox Canaanite people being fucking weird and fucked up and getting kicked out of countries a lot. I don't think those are the real ones, actually. I think that there was a usurp type situation, kind of like what was done to the indigenous aboriginals of America by the Mongolians and the Siberians. I think there was a similar situation to that. And then they posted up, created, a country that didn't exist, and then pushed all of the indigenous people there over to Gaza, Palestine. So, that supremacy shit don't help anybody. It's never helped anybody ever. If that rubs you the wrong way, or you think I'm some kind of like, Uncle Tom or something, I can't help you with that. You can say that shit until you're blue. I don't give a fuck. I am thinking above that type shit. And that's not me being a supremacist of me. That's low level thinking. That's low vibrational thinking. I'll fucking pull that one out the repertoire. I don't say that shit a lot, but that is low vibrational thinking. If you are on some supremacy shit, or you get mad at other people because they're not on supremacy shit, you have an issue that you need to work out. That's not their problem. That's your problem. You need to fucking work that shit out. Again, that's that shit y'all call shadow work. Get to it. If me saying that supremacy is weird is a problem to you, you need to work your shit out. Because, yeah, we have trauma just like they have trauma. They have shit that's been done to them too. Most of them. Them Canaanites, bro, I really can't. I don't see too many situations where that's the case. Honestly, I have a theory. I'm talking reckless right now, nigga. I don't give a fuck, apparently. if you look at that very large situation that happened with the nigga with the little mustache, the nigga with the little mustache, I kind of have a theory that a lot of the people that turned on the other people, on their own people, that was them Canaanites, the fake ones. And now look at who has like lots of money and sells jewelry and has, you know, they have lots of fiat and they have lots of real estate and they have lots of what would seem like spoils of war, rewards for doing things. You feel what I'm saying? Like, there are different types of those Canaanites. And when I say that sentence, I'm using that as a code word, so I don't have to use the other one. Usually when I say that, I'm just talking about the unruly ones, the ones that get kicked out of countries and fucking eat people and drink blood and all kinds of crazy shit. And I'm not making any of that up. You can go find examples of them saying themselves that they do those things. And even beyond that, you can go to religious texts and find them getting, you know, wars declared on them, kicked out of lands because they were doing weird shit, like being admonished by monarchs and ruling, you know, rulers of the lands that are surrounding them or that they're in. Like, there's lots of contextual shit for what I'm saying. I'm not making the shit up. I'm not being racist or any of that shit. This is all fact. I'm just pulling from fact. So yeah, there's no need to be a supremacist because there are people that you should be weary of. Just be weary of them. You don't need to be a supremacist toward everyone else. That's stupid. That's fucking dumb. We could have the biggest armed force ever known to man. And by that I mean if we weren't doing shit country by country or pigment by pigment or religion by religion, which is by design. You don't have to be smart or intelligent or even studying to see that. You can tell just by looking at how this shit works. If we weren't doing these separate campaigns alone, nigga, most of the shit happening right now wouldn't have been possible. I don't give a fuck what you put up against this. It wouldn't have been possible. And we can still do that now. That's one of the big reasons I'm talking. Regardless to, you know, how much attention it seems like I'm getting right now, that's not the point of what I'm doing. I'm going to keep talking until more people pay attention. Until y'all start sharing this shit with other people. Like, oh shit, this nigga really says some shit. He's long-winded, but he'll say some shit. You know? Other beings that shared their information and their research were long-winded. So this isn't discouraging to me. I'm gonna keep going until I can get y'all where my head's at. And we don't have to think exactly the same. I just need y'all up where I'm at so that we can put our heads together and make this shit fucking crack, you know? Free Rashad Jamal too, man. I feel like regardless, I don't know the details, all that shit. I don't think that he's guilty of that shit, but I do think that he would be instrumental in making this shit that I'm trying to do pop. I don't see a lot of beings wanting to work together unless it has to do with money, fiat, and that shit is gay, bro. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Straight up, literally, you should be ashamed of yourselves over that. We're past that. That shit is not important. Anyway, supremacy is dumb. And I, am noticing some little, to take it back to where I started, some little razzle-dazzle in this fucking Monarch show. I'm wondering if that's maybe not some soft disclosure of some shit that, see, that's the type of disclosure that I feel like is more real because it's not on some goofy shit that they're also trying to fake. Is that me saying that I don't believe they have the UAPs or UFOs or whatever? Hell no, I know they got them because they build them. Potentially not all of them, but most of the ones that we see, that's theirs. You think extra dimensional beings are just like kind of slowly showing you their shit? That's stupid. If they were ready to pop out, nigga, they'd pop out. You know? I feel like their shit is most likely so advanced that nigga, you're not gonna see it unless they want you to see it. And why would they gingerly do this shit for years like this? Who has the motivation to do it in that way? Your governments have the motivation to do that because it's distracting. You ain't paying attention to nothing else, a lot of y'all, but some fucking UAPs and UFO disclosure and shit from that fake ass nigga Grush or whatever his name is. Not saying he doesn't have some information. In fact, I take back the fake thing because he might be a useful idiot. They may just be using that nigga, giving them bad information or even, you know, good information. I don't know, but main point being that is distraction. Like, most of the shit he's talking about is government owned and government operated. And plenty of people that are closer, way closer to it than me will tell you that. Like, nah, he's a useful idiot. And I already made a video talking about this. I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically saying, like, y'all keep talking about this disclosure shit, but you haven't said anything at all about the beings that have been affected, the experiencers, the people who have died or never been seen again or had babies implanted in them. They don't know who the father is. There's been lots of crazy shit that happened. Y'all haven't referenced that shit not one time, not now one time, as many of my family would say. Not now a time. These are the things that pop into my head when I watch these specific programs, like Monarch and Man Who Fell to Earth, all that shit, bro. Most of this is, I used to just call it mockery, and I still think it is mockery, and many times misinformation or disinformation. But you can, if you try to pay attention to as much as you can, a lot of the time you can make this shit line up. Like, oh, so okay, gamma over here, gamma radiation over here, then they talk about neutrinos coming up, not down. And then a particle, they said a particle, a feminine particle, somehow a feminine particle, super energetic. You know, you can start to piece this shit together, bruh. I mean, you won't get necessarily straight out answers all the time, but you can start to connect some dots and at least know what to pay attention to more, you know? I don't know if I have too much more to say. I expected this to be 5 minutes long, bruh. I got that Bobby Hemmett flow, you know? I got that panic flow, like, I don't even mean to be talking this long a lot of the time. That fucking Rashad Jamal flow, nigga. Yeah, that's all I got. If you have anything that you can add to it, like if you're aware of some other radiation anomalies or misconceptions or disclosures, hit me up. DM, comments, whatever. I do respond. They are open and welcoming, unless you's a bitch, and then I gotta fucking block you or whatever, you know what I mean? I love y'all.